why we even bother with creating an LLM from scratch when we have thousands of open source large language models freely available through online sources like Hugging Face and some other online platforms as well. So for this purpose, you have to understand the usage of large language models with the variation of its requirements. Like sometimes even the pre-trained models just don't fit the task at hand. Like let's start with the text continuation large language models. These babies are trained to predict the next word in a sentence, and they are pretty damn good at it. Now we have to learn as how to perform the step one. For that purpose, we start from gathering a massive pile of text data. Assalamu alaikum everyone. So before moving towards the introduction of the current topic to discuss in detail, let's remind the previous lectures that are based on the working process of large language models. Like start from its architecture details, we will move towards the pre-training and fine-tuning to prompt engineering coursework with the relevant techniques and details in each lecture separately. So now it's time to introduce the method to create the large language models like start from scratch so that you people also able to perform each and every step with details after listening to our lectures in detail. So are you ready to get yourself into the world of creating large language models from scratch? Yes. Don't worry, I have got you covered. Let's break it down step by step, starting with what you need to know before embarking on this exciting journey. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty, let's make sure you are prepared. Like as you will for prerequisite, you will need a good grasp of Python programming and some familiarity with the basics of natural language processing and large language models. That means we are going to explore different types of large language models to uncover the challenges of training them by delve into the infrastructure details that is needed, the cost involved, and the resource required to complete the purpose behind the task. So if we talk about our objective, simple. We are here to learn about how to create large language models from scratch. Like you have to understand the variety of large language models out there and find out how to train and how to evaluate them efficiently and effectively. All right, so that is the agenda behind this overall lecture based on the creation of large language models from scratch. Like here, we will discuss each and every requirements in details. All right. Know that we are all on the same page. Let's get started. Have you people ever wondered how those smart machines generate human-like text? Well, that's the true magic of large language models. Unlike fine-tuning, where pre-trained models are tweaked, building an LLM from scratch means starting from fresh step. We randomly set up the model's building blocks like layers, attention mechanisms, and such and train it on an immense amount of text data. It's like teaching it the language from scratch, and that's where the real fun begins. So why we even bother with creating an LLM from scratch when we have thousands of open source large language models freely available through online sources like Hugging Face and some other online platforms as well. So for this purpose, you have to understand the usage of large language models with the variation of its requirements. Like sometimes even the pre-trained models just don't fit the task at hand. Like it is unable to generate responses against the data that is not available in their dataset of training modules. That means we are talking about situations where the existing models aren't enough to snuff off for the job you have in your mind. And if you talk about the other mechanism that is fine tuning, which is for sure quicker and easier, while building an LLM from scratch gives you more control and power to shape it just the way you want to do it. All right, buckle up. Training large language models from scratch isn't a one size fits all deal. It depends upon whether you are building an large language models for text continuation or for dialogue optimization techniques, as these are the techniques which we already discussed in detail in the introduction to large language model lecture available at the same platform like we are doing our work. But we will remind but we will remind them as one is utilized for the purpose of completion of sentences and one will be utilized to help the large language models to understand the question and then try to generate the relevant and best possible response out of it. Like these are the keys to success here at the dataset and the large language models creation and architecture. Like these two bodies are the ones who will make sure you will shine your large language model will shine, so keep them close. Now we have to speed up ourselves to learn about further methodologies which will be utilized in this whole process. So let's start with continuing the text large language models. Let's start with the text continuation large language models. These babies are trained to predict the next word in a sentence, and they are pretty damn good at it. Now we have to learn as how to perform the step one. For that purpose, we start from gathering a massive pile of text data. Think of it as your large language models breakdown. But here is the secret sauce behind it. That is the qualitative data, like the ChatGPT inspired open chat methodology, which sold with its high quality training on just 6K data, providing that quality over quantity rocks each time. You might have heard stories like ChatGPT flunks JEE test or ChatGPT fails UPSC exam. What's the deal behind it? Well, it's all about the data. If your large language model lacks the smartness in it, it will be directly blames the data set it was trained on. Like we can take an example of enter, pile, and defined web data sets. Here are these are data sets that are born from born from the depths of the internet, specifically designed to give your large language models the edge it needs. Like in Pile, like we can take an example of Pile dataset. It combines various sources into a whopping 825 GB of data, while refined web polishes the common raw into something even shinier than before. All right, after the data completion process completed, now it's time for some cleaning up. The data set you gathered might be a bit messy, coming from all over the web, all over the word scenarios, all over the word we try to capture responses. Your job is to scrub away HTML. So we have to fix those ASCII spelling mistakes, kick out the toxic stuff, and even translate emojis into words. And don't forget to tidy up. Also, don't forget to tidy up the removing of duplicates. Like your large language model and its memory is precious, and we don't want it to waste it for some info that is not even usable, that is not even accurate or legible for any model training and testing purpose. After the completion of previous step, that means the data is polished and ready for the use. Now let's get it into the shape of training. It's like giving your large language models a favorable puzzle to solve. Each sentence is split up into smaller pieces or tokens which help the model to predict the next word. Imagine you have a sentence like I am a DHS chatbot. Each word will become puzzle piece, and your large language model learns how to put them together by placing them one after another and try to generate some link in between them. All right, now it's time to design your large language model's brain based on the model architecture that we already discussed in detail with each and every step in the encoder and decoder lecture. Like if you want to learn about it, you can watch that lecture as well. So now get back to our work. As most large language models start with existing architecture like GPT-3 and then tweak them. Have you ever heard of Falcon? It's a top-notch large language model that's inspired by the ChatGPT 3 model, but comes with its own twists. Think of it like putting your personal spin on a classic recipe. All right, if you want to build your model, you have to learn its important part, like at which the whole model completely depends, and these are hyperparameters. These settings are like the secret ingredients that make your large language models shine. Setting them right can be a bit tricky, but don't worry, I have got your back. Batch size, landing date, weight initialization, these are your tools to create a masterpiece. Think of it like you are tuning an instrument to play the perfect symphony. So now, if we move ahead of the continuation technique, we have another approach by our side. But for that purpose, you have to remember those text continuation LLMs. Well, they can also become wizards at answering questions. We can call them dialogue optimized large language models. They are trained to chat and answer like a pro. Models like ChatGPT go through an extra step called RLHF, which is also discussed in detail in our lecture as a separate lecture. For making large language, which will be utilized to make large language models as even better conversationalists. Now it's time to put your large language models to the test. There are two there are two different ways we size them, like intrinsic method and extrinsic method. In intrinsic method, it will be work on the basis of perplexity, like it will check how well your large language model predicts the next term word. And in if we talk about extrinsic methods, it's like a real life exam. That like the large language models try to test the smartness, like you are trying to test your large language model's smartness in solving problems, reasoning, and some analytical reasonings required type of questions. Like similarly, like just as a human can do it, like you try to get some human mind related or similar responses from ChatGPT in that type of methodology. Like these are extrinsic methods. Now that you have got your large language models, it's time to unleash its power. Think about chatbots, text classification, language understanding, and more type of applications. But you are not alone in this journey. Tools like TensorFlow, PyTorch, and the Transformer Library have you got have got your back by helping your life to become by helping you to generate or made or create large language models from scratch. So I think you are feeling inspired. So ready to roll up your sleeves and try to create your own large language models. Well, you are in luck. There is a link waiting for you where you can practice creating models from scratch by using Google Colab. So why wait? Dive in and start your large language models adventure, as the link is also available there in the slide. And there you have it, the exhilarating world of crafting large language models from scratch. These models are like the rock stars of natural language processing and AI, showing off their text generation skills like pros. Just remember, you have to just remember this journey comes with its challenges, like the need for hefty computational power and resources, but with the right know-how, you can create something truly remarkable. So go on. So why stop? Go on and unleash your creativity and make the world of large language model like your playground. So that's all from my side in terms of creating large language models from scratch.